Minutes or less, I'm going to show you how to do a basic cash flow projection. It is critical in these unprecedented times that you, as a small business owner, understand how your cash is coming in and out of your business and when. We know that one key critical factor to business success is working capital. That's the money you have in your checking account, not necessarily your sales or profit. In this basic worksheet, you will see across the top, I have labeled weeks 1 through 4. You could label this month 1 through 4, month through 12, whatever time period you would like it to be. We're going to start with an opening balance. We're going to look at our cash inflows and our outflows, and then our cash balance at the end of each month. Over here to the right, you'll see I've created a basic fake scenario for us to use. This is also very simplistic. So you may want to list out, for example, your expenses in much more detail than I have. So this is a restaurant who has an opening balance in their checking account of $1,500. They received a $20,000 loan. On that loan, they're going to pay interest on that loan of $75. Their rent is due of $2,000 the first week of the month. The power bill is just one of the utilities due at the last week of the month. Their labor charges average $3,500 per month. They're going to purchase food for $3,000 in the first week of the month. And then their predicted sales are accordingly listed there for each week of the month. And of course, they're going to pay their food tax. Now, please note, this is not all inclusive. Again, this is very simplistic for the sake of time. You will probably have more inflows and outflows than I have listed here. So let's get started. We're going to look at, we've got an opening balance of $1,500. So we're going to type that in here. Then we're going to look at our cash inflows. And we know that they got a $20,000 loan. So we're going to label this loan. We're going to type in here our $20,000. All right. Now, our other inflow are the predicted sales. So we're just going to go, and I always recommend going across on the rows, not necessarily down for each week, go across on the rows. So we've got our predicted sales here, and I'm going to type those in each of the weeks. So we've got $2,000 for week 1. We have $700 in week 2. Because maybe there's a rise in cases, so people don't come out as much. And then in week 3, we figure out, oh, we're going to do takeout and curbside again. So we increase back up to 2,500. And then other restaurants open, so there's some more competition. So we see a decrease of $1,000. Okay. So those are our total inflows. Okay. So now let's look at our outflows. Oh, and I forgot to label that. We want to label that sales. So our first outflow is our monthly interest payment of $75. We're going to label this interest payment. And of course, we would have our loan payment as well. But this is not in this example because our first loan payment isn't due for 6 months. However, the interest does start to accrue when we get the cash. So in week 1, we're going to list that as $75. Now, that's only going to come once a month. So we're going to put 0 here. Okay, so our next outflow is rent, and it's due the first week of the month. And so we're going to put that in here, 2,000. And then again, we don't pay that again until the next month. And we're going to label this as rent. Our next outflow is power, and that's due the last week of the month. I'll label that power bill. And we're going to put that in here for the last week of the month, and it's $200. Our next one is our labor costs average $3,500 per week. So this is not a great way to do this. Your labor costs are probably going to go up and down based on your sales. But for simplicity's sake, let's just say it's $3,500 on average, and we're going to divide that by 4. So we're going to say $875 a week, and we're going to say this is labor. Okay. We know it's going to be more than that, but for simplicity's sake, we're just going to move that over. Okay, and again, that's a simple way if you know it's going to be the same across. Like say you're doing by a monthly basis, and you know your power bill has been leveled out for you, so you do one payment. You can take your cursor, put it in the bottom right corner of the cell. When you get the cross, you hold the left mouse button down and drag it across, and it will copy that figure all the way over. So we've got our labor in, and we know we're going to purchase food the first week of the month. So we're going to label that food purchase. You could label it supplies if you have a different type of business. We're going to type that in, $3,000. And then we know we are going to have the taxes, the food tax, the retail sale and retail tax. So we're going to put taxes, and that's 6% of our sales. So an easy way for us to do that is you type in the equal sign, you put your cursor in the cell, type in the equal sign, and you go up to your sales cell, and you click that cell, and then you do times 0.06%. And that should be, 1.06%. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing here. Equals, we're going to go up to our sales times 1.06%. The same thing here. Equals, click on the cell, times 1.06%. And we're going to do equals times 1.06%. All right, so now we have our inflows and our outflows. Okay, so let's look at how we total those. So we have our opening balance, and what we can do is highlight that cell. We're going to hold down our left mouse button, and we're going to drag it down, okay, to make it all gray. We're going to go up here to the Greek symbol for sum. We're going to hit sum. Now, we could do that for each of these cells. And why don't we just do that for simplicity's sake? For those of you who are Excel experts, I know that there is another way to transfer these formulas easily. However, I just want to make it as easy as possible for everyone who is watching. So now let's come down and let's total our outflows. So we're going to highlight again, put the cursor in the cell. Now hold down our left mouse button and make it all gray, including the cell where we want the total. We're going to go up and we're going to hit sum. Okay, so let's do that for others. Again, keeping it simple for everyone who is watching. All right, and sum. Okay, so now we've got our total inflows, we've got our total outflows. Now, what we need to do for our net cash flow, we're going to take our total inflows minus our total outflows. So for that, we're going to put our cursor in the cell, we're going to do equals. We're going to go up to our total cash inflows, cell B7. We're going to put the dancing ants, and then you'll see that it brings it down here. We're going to subtract our total cash outflows. We're going to hit enter. Okay. Now, we know that our closing balance for the first week is going to be our beginning balance for week 2. So how we can do that is go up to the cell where we want it to be. We type equals, and then we come down, highlight that cell, put dancing ants, and put enter. And you'll see that that carries that number up here. So now, again, we want to put the cell where we need it to be to get our net cash flow. And we're going to do equals. We're going to take our total cash inflows minus our total cash outflows and hit enter. Okay. Again, up here, we want to, our opening balance for week 3 is going to equal our closing balance for week 2. So we're going to hit enter there. All right, and that puts our number up there. And then our net cash flow is going to be equal the total cash inflows minus the total cash outflows. I'm going to hit enter. For week 4, we're going to come up and we want it to be the ending balance of week 3. So we're going to hit equals. We're going to go down to that ending balance of week 3. We're going to put the dancing ants and hit enter. And then again, we want our net cash flow is going to be our total inflows, which is right here, minus our total outflows. So now, folks, you can see for each of the weeks what your balance will be at the end. This is a projection. Again, I just threw in numbers here. You know your business, and so you can make a more educated guess. Again, I encourage you to do a best case and a worst case scenario. So if you wanted to do that, say this was your best case scenario, you could come down here to where it says sheet 1. You could right click on that and select move or copy. You could move it to the end and you just select the box, create a copy, and hit OK. That's going to give you sheet 2, and this will all be in here, so then you can do a worst case scenario as well. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at the Lord Fairfax Small Business Development Center or email ckriz@lfcc.edu. You can follow us on Facebook, and our website is lfsbdc.org. And I'll type that in here so that you can see it, lfsbdc.org. And my email is ckriz@lfcc.edu. You can also like us on Facebook. Thanks, everyone.